Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2059A, and today's date is December 31st, 2019, and the title of the episode is Central Bank Goes After Boris Johnson. Trump prepares the next phase of the economic plan. Now, before I get started, let's talk about being prepared and protecting yourself. The new Patriot X 2020 flashlight model is here. Features include compass, magnet rope, and a wire cutter, solar-powered recharging, high and low beam LED modes, extended glass-breaking hammer. The holidays are quickly approaching. Why not purchase one of the best flashlights on the market, the Patriot Brother X 2020 flashlight? The holidays are here, and the Patriot flashlight wants to extend a special 20% Patriot discount to all customers throughout the month of December. Limited supplies last, and this is the very last chance to get 20% off the new 2020 model before they sell out. Take advantage now and give you and your family the gift of night protection. Click the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, before I get started, I just want to wish everyone a happy and healthy new year. And thank you for listening to the X22 Report Spotlight. Thank you for listening to me rant half the time. And I really, really appreciate it. I'm very grateful that you take time to come and listen to what I have to say. And once again, have a happy and safe new year. Now, there was a time when the deep state, the central bankers, they were in control of the narrative. And whatever they said, people just went along with it. And now we can see that the central bank, the mainstream media, the deep state, they are now no longer in control. They are losing the narrative. How do we know this? Well, we can see it from what is happening out in the UK, for instance. Boris Johnson, he said, okay, listen, you elected me. I'm going to follow through on the Brexit. Let's have another election. The people spoke up. No matter how much the mainstream media, the central bank tried to scare the people, making them think that if this happens, your lives are doomed. The fear tactics did not work. The people said, you know what? Whatever happens, happens as long as we're not part of a non-elected system. And now the EU Trade Commissioner, Phil Hogan, he is telling everyone that Boris Johnson will cave in. He will not follow through on the Brexit. The EU is in control. Why would they do this? Because they believe they have this plan. They believe they're in control. But they're not. This is coming out of fear. Remember when Trump first came into office? What did the mainstream media and all the different politicians and the sore losers, what did they do? They said that Trump was going to resign. He was going to quit. And after that didn't happen, after a year and a half, they said he was going to be put into jail because of Russian collusion. That didn't happen. All of this is coming out of fear. Fear that the people will wake up and see the central bank and all these individuals for what they really are. And it's getting very, very close to that point in the UK. And this is why the EU is now getting nervous. They're hoping, and they probably have a lot of tricks up their sleeves, they're going to push fear. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more events. They're going to push this in the UK. But I do believe that Boris Johnson, he already accounted for this. They already know that this is going to happen. Just like he called them on these elections. And we can see that they didn't even stand a chance. They tried, but they couldn't do it. You know why? Because they no longer control the narrative. Here in the United States, every day that goes by, the mainstream media is losing control of the economic narrative. Trump is continually gaining more and more momentum. Remember, he's not trying to make this central bank system great. He's not trying to fix it. It's unfixable right now. And he doesn't want this to exist because it's not a people's system. He's using all the weapons against the central bank system itself. But a new poll finds that 80% of Americans believe their lives will get better in the coming year. And it's all about the economy and Trump. Now, the mainstream media, they can't figure this out. They don't understand what is going on. But the average person who is working or wasn't working, who found a job, who was making this amount of money and now is making more money, they don't understand how much they were struggling. Look at the wages. Wages are advancing at about 3.7% annual pace after falling 2.5% during the final years of Obama. Gains are increasingly flowing to lower-income Americans and minorities as blue-collar industries like construction, maintenance, manufacturing, and a lot more industries are coming back to the United States. In November, women rose to fully half of all non-farm employees. In 2018, women opened businesses at nearly twice the pace as during the prior 6 years, and college women are shifting in greater numbers to once male-dominated higher-paying college majors. Those should do a great deal to substantially reduce the gender pay gap. Trump is also shrinking the inequality between the very, very wealthy and the poor. It was separating as time went on, because this is what the central bank system does. He is now reversing this. Trump also announced that the Phase 1 deal with China is going to happen in January, and we mentioned this yesterday, and it looks like he's confirming. He said, "I'll be signing our very large and comprehensive Phase 1 trade deal with China on January 15th. The ceremony will take place at the White House. High-level representatives of China will be present. At a later date, I'll be going to Beijing, where talks will begin on Phase 2. Trump now has established the first part of the plan for the economy. Think about what he has done. He needed to reverse everything the globalists, the central banks, were doing. He needed to shrink the gap between the very wealthy and the very poor. And we could see that is shrinking now. Wages are now rising. He needed to bring back manufacturing. He knew that he didn't have enough time to fully bring back every single manufacturer here to the United States. So the next best thing was first to remove NAFTA, but that was kind of difficult because it was tied up in Congress. So he renegotiated it and made a manufacturing powerhouse between Mexico, the United States, and Canada to go up against the globalists. Remember, the globalists, they were planning on China and many other nations to be the economic powerhouse. Trump now is going to compete against that. This is part of the first phase. He also got rid of all the globalist plans. And we can see he's now moving into the next phase, Phase 2 of the China deal, and moving forward with continually creating the transitional economy. The USMCA is going to be signed. Once that's signed in 2020, we're going to see something completely different that we've never seen before, with jobs, with manufacturing, and the mainstream media, the central bank, they won't even know what to do with this. Now, Team Trump, they tweeted out the accomplishments of Trump over the past year. And this is just a brief summary. It says, "At Real Donald Trump, tax cuts are fuel for the strong economy. 90% of Americans saw paychecks grow. Americans receive average of over $2,200 in child tax credit, $90 billion. 9,000 opportunity zones spur $100 billion private investment where needed most. Dems would raise taxes and reverse." Continuing, "Black Americans thriving under at Real Donald Trump policies. Historic low 5.5% unemployment rate. Prior to Trump, it was never below 7%. 9,000 opportunity zones to spur $100 billion in private investment in communities. Record funding for HBCUs. First Step Act giving second chances." Let me continue here. "The growing at Real Donald Trump economy is strong. 50-year low unemployment rate. Historic unemployment rates for women, blacks, Latinos, Asians, veterans. Over 7 million jobs created. 1 million manufacturing and construction jobs. Fastest wage growth in a decade and faster for low earners." What Trump has done right now is he set up this brand new system. And he's going to build upon this as we go into 2020. we're going into the next phase where we're going to be moving into a transitional economy. The central bank system will not last. It's imploding. The debt level is too high. There's nothing that you can do with it. The central bank isn't going to say, hey, let's just write it off. What they like to do is they like to have some type of an event to distract everyone from what is really going on, and they can reset the system. This way, it looks like their system worked perfectly, and after the war, we're just moving forward and creating a new one, depending on who the players are. But this isn't happening this time. They don't have an event. They have nothing. So what's going to happen? Most likely, we know that there are audit bills waiting in the wings. We know they just sit there. We know that Trump from the past said he would audit the Fed. We know that Trump likes gold. We know that Q told us that the Fed is going to be restructured, that gold is going to destroy the Fed. I believe once we get through 2020 and we move into Trump's second term, this is where all this is headed. And once we are headed in this direction, the central bank is going to fight back and fight back hard. Because Trump is going to remove all the blocks, remove a lot of the swamp. The last piece of the swamp is the central bank system. That is the source of all of this. And you can see how he's maneuvering and building this transitional economy. And soon, yes, we will have a crisis. But Trump will be in control of it. Trump is preparing for it. Before, we were not prepared for it. We were prepared for something completely different. This time, what Trump has been doing with the Patriots and everyone working with him, they've been preparing for the crisis, for the central bank system to implode on itself. Now, he has the framework of the transitional economy, and he's preparing the people for this. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.